Our
So,
favorite girl.
what kind of Asian are
Not
you?
mine.
I looked at him dead in the eye and I said, you.
What?
It doesn't matter if you're curious what race someone is. You don't ask them. That is not your place. It's not important to you, and it shouldn't. If you treat.
So, hello and welcome to the Asian Spirit Love channel. We're doing a podcast right now on being Asian American and the challenges and the strengths of doing that. Well, being that, of course, because we're both Asian American. And I feel like it's really interesting because the experience, at least to me, is way different than being someone from Asia. And we can hear your opinions on that as well as your opinions. So, let's talk about it today. So I definitely think it's really interesting because I know as an Asian American, it's way different than being someone from Asia. And I want everyone to know that if you are Asian American and you're not fluent in your language, you're still Asian. You know, I don't want it to be debatable. Okay. So, the thing is that, especially during the hate crime situation they're having against Asians right now, they don't care if you're fluent or not fluent in your culture's language. They'll still hate crime you.
Yeah.
It's like, you know what I'm saying? They're not just targeting people who are fluent in Chinese and Vietnamese and Thai. They're targeting Asians in general. So regardless of what Asian you are, whether you are fluent or not fluent, you are still Asian. You're still relevant in this culture and community. Sorry, my cat. Hey, baby. Which is also Asian. You're a Siamese snow cloud. So, thanks for coming on, baby. Put you down. But yes, so it's a very interesting subject because I think a lot of times, especially as an Asian American, we complain that, oh, because we're not fluent, we're no longer Asian. And the one thing, unfortunately, I can't find a video right now, but it used to be so widespread, I think probably kind of the mid 2000s, where so many major Asian influencers would come out and say, hey, we're not Asian, we're American, perpetually, spreading the shame that it's shameful or difficult to be Asian, which also goes a lot with the model minority of trying to fit in with our Caucasian counterparts and discussing how we're shamed or we think it's shameful to be Asian. So there's a lot of issues with being Asian American, especially within Pride. So it's a very intense subject. How do you feel about this?
Well, the one you mentioned about saying I'm just American, I think that was more just to let people know that I'm not an alien or some foreigner. I'm American too. Whether you're born here or not, we're all living here together. We share this space. That I'm no different from you are, right? So they think, oh, you're the foreigner. You're the one stealing our jobs and whatnot. And we're saying, well, we're the same. We're in the same boat as you are, right? So yes, maybe our skin tone is different, or our culture might be different, but we're all in this together. We all want to make this a better place. So let's work together instead of being enemies. So I think that's where it came from. It doesn't mean that you're necessarily shameful of your culture or your past or whatever. We're just saying that now we're here. So I'm not in China, Vietnam, Thailand anymore. I'm here in America. We're sharing this space together. Let's work on this together, right? So I think that's what they mean by that.
I just have one question to ask you then. So why is other cultures, you say that I'm Latino or Latino American, I'm Black American, I'm Mexican American. Why is it a situation where as API people, we're ashamed of saying that we're Asian American? We only want to say American because they're like, we don't even want to put down the Asian in general. So I do want to say that, at least to me, I think it's shameful because, and obviously they deleted it for a reason, because it's hard to find now, but it used to be a huge part of social media. And I always say that I'm Asian American or Thai American because I want people to know that regardless of, my, me being in America, my Thai culture is always going to be part of me. And while I'm also American and I'm proud of that as well. So Asian American, for me, is something that lays deep within me. But I do know that, especially with the complex of the model minority, trying to perpetuate or put yourself as close to whiteness as possible compared to other minorities is something, I'm not going to lie, to me is an issue.
Well, honestly, I'm not sure it's as prevalent as you say it is. I don't hear that many people saying that. And then even back in the, when I was growing up, there was that Asian pride thing where people put Asian pride, everyone's Asian pride, AZN pride. Like, that was a huge thing. And I don't know if it maybe came about somewhat recently that when they're saying American, that's just a reaction to getting attacked. Like, hey, I'm American too. Don't attack me. I'm one of you. That's the reason why it came about. They're not ashamed that they're Chinese or Thai or whatever. It's just that, any other ethnicity who is also American that's attacking me for being a foreigner, like, hey, I'm one of you. We're all Americans. I think that was the point. They're not decrying that they don't want to eat Chinese food anymore, that they don't want to celebrate Chinese New Year. No, none of that. They're just saying that, hey, we're more similar than you think. I'm one of you. We're not enemies. So I think that's where it came about. It's a reaction to getting attacked. Whereas maybe some of those other ethnicities you mentioned, of course, they do experience discrimination all the time, but maybe not to the level. They're not just decrying, or saying that they're not whatever ethnicity they are, and they're just saying, hey, I'm American too. So I think they kind of, in a way, they still say it, but it's just maybe not as obvious or not as outward. So,
I mean, I think that, to be honest, there's a clear difference. Like, I'm not gonna lie. Like, my black friends are very proud to be black. My Latino friends are very proud to be Latino. But I'm not gonna lie. As an Asian American, especially growing up here, being a citizen here, I see a lot more of that. I think that's something that we have to acknowledge, because if we don't acknowledge it, it becomes problematic. And we're going to watch some videos about so many Asian Americans making it shameful to be Asian later on. I think starting from this point, we start to understand, this model minority complex of like wanting to perpetuate yourself as closeness or to model, minority compared to other minorities out there. So for me, it's a little different, but that's okay. We all have our personal opinions. But I definitely think we have a situation going on, because if we watch the videos later on, we're going to see how these people are so ashamed and actually put down their own culture. So that's going to be in a little bit. The second thing I want to talk about is also, and I'm very well aware that it goes both ways, but I do want to acknowledge the fact that if there's someone who is API and they don't correctly in someone else's eyes fit into American culture, they're called fobs. We kind of put them down. Even as a gay man, what I noticed is that like a lot of people, if they were dating a fob, whether it be male or female, they'd be like, oh my gosh, they're such a fob. I hate their accent. Why can't they like adapt to his culture? What's wrong with them? And they would put them down tremendously. So I really hate that about, not all, but a lot of APIs that are Americanized, is that we focus so much on putting down other people who are immigrants or fobs if they don't directly correlate with the American culture right away. What are your views on that?
I think that was more prevalent when we were growing up. Like these days, like I think for me personally, like I kind of envy them, like the ones who just come over recently, because they're more in tune with their culture. They like maybe just I can only speak for myself, not for all people who were born here, of course. But when I see them, they obviously are more in tune with the culture. They speak the language better, and they come here and they're able to assimilate to some degree, right? They adapt, but of course they are more comfortable with their own. But they try to assimilate as much as they can. And for me, I feel like almost shameful that I'm not at that level. That I am kind of whitewashed in comparison, even though I do speak the language and I try to, do as many customs and traditions as possible. But obviously, it's not as much as a native would. So, So I guess for me personally, I look at them that, they do have, not necessarily better, but they do have aspects that, I envy. But maybe they look at me and they want to have some things that I have. So I guess it goes both ways, right? So maybe somewhere in between, where you have, best of both worlds, where you have enough of your culture, your native culture, and American Western culture. You kind of blend it together. That you're able to more assimilate into the society here. So you could get a job, like maybe someone who just came over, their accent is thicker. They might not be able to get as many job opportunities as someone born here. But someone who is born here can't fully integrate themselves into their native culture community either. So, a little bit of a blend of both. Obviously, nobody has it exactly 50-50 that it's perfect, but, whatever you can, right? You just try to get as much of each as you can, and, just it's something to strive towards for your whole life. It's not just something that when you're younger. Even when you're older, you still want to, always learn more and just, get in touch with all your cultures as possible and other cultures as well.
Yeah.
So.
What's interesting is I dated someone who came from Japan, and I'm American born. So it's really interesting hearing about both perspectives. I just want to say that it was a wonderful experience because he was seeing things for the first time. And when he got excited about going somewhere in America, where I was like, I've already been there, it's whatever. Seeing his excitement made me excited too, because I started to realize, like, wow, he's really enthusiastic about this. Like, that made me enthusiastic. Just kind of seeing things in a new lens. You know? And there's certain, customs he did that I thought was really beautiful and amazing. I love that he was fluent in his language. I love that he had certain signs of respect and values that supported, like a really good, healthy relationship. I thought it was really awesome. But he came here to America because of the fact that he was all like, it's a little too strict in Japan. So he was like, actually like that you also have some really awesome customs and values here as well. So understanding that both sides, I was learning from him, he was learning from me, and we supported one another. And I feel like that's the main thing, is that the problem is that we kind of put down each other as opposed to support each other like we should be doing. Because again, there's things that are in Japan that are beautiful, that we can learn from, that we can grow from, and vice versa. There's things in America that they can learn from and grow from. And we see the benefit of each culture and why we have to utilize those things. So that opened my eyes to his culture, how he worked, how his thinking was, and that made me appreciate him even more, and vice versa. But the problem is that, like, I especially watched a vlog on this earlier on TikTok where they're talking about what is a fob, and a lot of times we put them down so much, we automatically make all these stereotypes, assumptions about them. And again, what we have to realize is that we can both benefit and grow from each other, but we should not put each other down.
Well, I think the fob thing is more towards kind of more third world poor countries, right? Like, nobody ever called a Japanese guy here a fob because they're cool. They're cool. They come from a rich country. They dress better than us. So I think when they say a fob, it's more for like those, more poor immigrants that just came over with nothing. I'm not saying any countries in particular, but some
mostly Southern Asians like Cambodian, Laos.
Well, no, well, China too. Right? So, but you know what I mean? Like ones who come here who are wealthy.
The poor Asians.
Well, not anymore, right?
Well, I mean, here's the thing. Regardless of your economic status, we shouldn't call them fob regardless. Whether they're a wealthier Asian or a less wealthier Asian. And I think that's the main thing, is that we have to realize, how do we acknowledge that, we shouldn't be putting each other down regardless. And vice versa. Like, I've seen some people that are, immigrants have come to this country where they're like, oh, these Americanized Asians are like the worst and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I'm fully aware that it goes both ways. I'm not going to lie, though. I think us Asian Americans put down immigrants way more when it comes to other API people than they do, but it does happen back and forth.
Well, it's probably insecurity, right? Because they feel like they're ashamed that they're not in tune with their own culture, so they put down somebody who is fully acclimated into the culture, right? So it makes no sense unless you're like self-hating. Why would you put down someone who is of your ethnicity, who can speak the language better than you, knows more of the culture and everything? So I think it is kind of self-hating, almost white worshipping in a way. Like I think I'm superior because I speak English better, and I
agree.
Right?
I'm not gonna lie.
That's not something to be proud of, right? So.
Well, I agree with you. I do think there's a lot of ego in the mix, especially being, here in America. Like, I think we are a very ego-based society sometimes, and we utilize that to put each other down, which I think is so harmful and so toxic. So, and we're going to watch some videos on, again, that self-hate, putting our own culture down in terms of internalized racism. So that's going to come up next. But again, I really think that as API people, we have to work on how we talk to immigrants. And again, to be honest, most of our parents, especially our grandparents, are immigrants. You are here because of immigrants. So it's so important that we respect them and we value them. You know, that doesn't mean that you can't call them out when they're being harmful, you know, or unkind or rude. You can still call them out. But you also have to realize that putting them down just because they're an immigrant, which happens a lot, we have to work on that because that's not cool, you know, because we are here because of a lot of immigrants who came to this country. So we have to support them. So the next part is going to be really exciting. So social media, I think especially nowadays, because we're much older than most people on social media, apparently, because they're doing a thing on TikTok where like, if you're someone that's older than the older generation, like you're born in the 90s. And I was like, well, I'm not even 90s. Like I'm, you know, I'm born in 1980s. So like, how old am I? I'm like, I'm a ancient. What's going on here? But we do know like TikTok and a lot of social media platforms are oriented towards much younger generations. And that's completely okay and cool. But the one thing that I dislike about this is that there's a lot of teachings to be anti your culture. There's a lot of internalized racism. And we're going to watch some videos right now. And I'm not going to lie. They're mainly oriented towards internalized racism on Asian women, particularly. But I'm sure that there are plenty of videos where Asian men as well have some internalized racism. I couldn't find so many or any.
That's prevalent, I guess. So,
I believe it. I believe there's problematic Asian men. I believe in toxic masculinity all the way. I'm totally in belief of that. I totally understand that that's part of our community and we have to work on that. But these videos, I'm not going to lie. A lot of these videos are focused on how other API people, particularly women, put down their own culture. So let's watch that right now. All right.
Yeah, check it out.
So this is not long, but it's not super short. It's just a regular, like I think 3 episodes right now. Compilation of it. Let me see.
All right, let's fire it up.
All right. So, and we're going to comment right afterwards. So we want to hear your opinions in the comments below. I'm going to put the volume all the way up too, since we have the mic right now.
I can just overlay it.
This is really weird energy, but as an Asian man growing up in the southern U.S., this is not new to me. Unfortunately for Asian Americans, it's been normalized for Asian women to cast off Asian men romantically.
Yeah.
And the argument that you'll hear from these women most of the time is that it's a preference for them not to date Asian men because they remind them of their fathers or of their brothers. First of all, when your preference is based on something that people can't change, like their ethnicity, that's not preference. That's prejudice.
That means they're...
Exactly. So let's talk...
Yeah,
go ahead, sorry.
Oh, yeah, so if they're brothers and sisters, that means their parents were incestual and the daughter is a bastard.
Yeah, well, here's the thing is that, you know, they're saying, oh, it's my preference because I don't want to date someone who looks like my father, you know.
I thought that's what people like. People say that girls look for guys that remind them of their father. That's what they always say.
We're not going to go into that one.
Right?
I don't want to get canceled right now.
No, seriously. Like in traditional dating, they women say they like, or not, it's not they say themselves, but it's been shown that women look for men who have the qualities of their father. Not necessarily looks like him, but the qualities of the father that, you know, because in traditional households where there was a father, that's the first man they fell in love with and what they love, right? Because he's the one that took care of them. So you want a man to be like that, right? But
I am not going to lie. Yeah. I think the main issue here is you're basically saying that all Asians look alike.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the major problem is that, again, that's part of internalized racism like he was talking about. Because if you think that all the men that are Asian look alike, you're also saying that you as an Asian woman look like everyone else too.
Yes, I never heard an Asian man saying that this girl looks like my sister. I never, ever heard that. But I hear women saying that all the time about the men.
Yeah.
So.
But again, as I said before, that's a huge part of what this guy was saying, which is internalized racism.
Yeah.
And it also leads to, again, if you're stereotyping Asian men, you're also stereotyping Asian women without realizing it. And you're empowering women to be racist, which is not empowering. It's degrading, it's toxic, it's disgusting. Yeah. So when this guy's talking about that, the difference between preference and racism, in my personal opinion, I fully agree with him, because hearing this woman say, "Oh yeah, all Asian men, look alike," you're also perpetuating the myth that all Asian women look alike too as well, which is so problematic.
Yeah, because if you were to say that to the same girl who said that, she would flip out.
Yeah.
What do you mean we look alike, huh? Like, so you can't just make a statement like that and not expect some backlash, and then you should be able to take it and have some type of response for it.
Yeah, because I truly believe in toxic masculinity. I definitely think it's good to call out men when they're being toxic, but I think it's also important to call out women, such as this situation right here, when they're being toxic as well.
Yeah.
So let's watch the next one, you guys. Let me see. All right.
What do you guys think about Asian boys? Look over there. When I see it.
All right. So that's the next video.
So that's like saying, like a bunch of Asian dudes, "Hey, what do you think about white girls?" And you show Roseanne or something, and use that as your example of a white girl. Then that's basically what this is saying, right?
Yeah. If you're into that, that's great. But the thing is that not every woman looks like Roseanne, right? Like, I think that, again, you're perpetuating that all Asian people, as an Asian person, look exactly the same, which is so problematic. And then you're also saying that you're picking the one Asian man that you find super unattractive.
Yeah, he's not that bad either. I mean, he was a good-looking guy, probably very smart and educated. I'm sure he's a catch in his own right.
Yeah.
So, anyways,
to some Asian, just some women in general, right?
Yeah.
But again, I think the main issue is that you're saying that if you're not particularly attracted to someone, you're saying that every Asian man is going to look like that person, which is so harmful, so toxic, and again, so racist too. I'm not going to lie. This internalized racism is definitely a part of how these people work. And again, we can call out toxic masculinity, and we should, but this is toxic femininity. And if you empower and let women slide and say they can be racist, you are making sure that you're putting down our own culture for both the men and for women. So I suggest that these women and other women that are around us, Black women, Asian women, Latin women, Middle Eastern women, call this out. Do not let these women slide and be racist and then say it's okay.
Well, the fact that they just lumped all Asians together, so they said, "What do you think of Asian men?" And he's found this random guy. Again, he's not unattractive. He just, maybe a little heavy set, but nothing wrong with that. And they're just picking on him. So if it was like Daniel Henney or Russell Wong sitting there, would they say the same thing? Probably not, right? They just found this guy that they found to be unattractive and made fun of him, but they used a blanket statement of Asian men, which includes Daniel Henney and Russell Wong, and somehow they say all Asian men are unattractive, that they look like this guy.
Yeah. I just turned on the light. Sorry about that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, sun's going down a little bit. We need a little bit of light. But yeah, I mean, like I said, he's not that bad, but in their eyes, they probably think he's horrible. But just picking on some random guy, and then at the same time putting all other Asian guys in that same boat, which is
well, it's also like they picked out like clearly, I think, 40-something or 50-something-year-old man, right? And they're probably like in their 20s or whatever. The thing is that not all Asian men are like in their 50s, or late 40s. So they're also just trying to stereotype, which is so, again, if it was the other way around too, which I don't agree with, that'd be horrible. So we have to be realizing, okay, what are we doing to our people? And also, I mean, we're going to talk about this later on, but like a lot of you don't realize, what you should realize, you have nephews, you have sons, you have uncles, you have fathers. When you put down Asian men in general, you're putting down your own family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but were those girls where they were
the
Asian
mom,
themselves?
sort of the person filming is an Asian mother.
Oh, okay, yeah.
There is one Caucasian woman, and basically there's the Asian daughter, of course, right?
Yeah.
So what the mom is doing, the Asian mom is doing, she's saying to both her Asian daughter as well as her Caucasian friend that Asian men are lower than, and they all look the same.
Yeah.
So you're basically making sure that this Caucasian woman is being racist because you're including your own racism to this Caucasian woman. She might have thought that way. She might have not thought that way.
I'm not defending them at all, but it could be maybe she was divorced from an Asian guy or something. Maybe she's bitter, right? So
I mean,
who knows why people?
If I was straight and divorced an Asian woman, I'm not going to say that all Asian women look alike. There's no excuse for racism. There's no excuse for toxicity.
Yeah, of
you
course
know?
not. But I think I'm just trying to figure out why people would do things
I don't
like
care
that.
who you get divorced to. Don't
Yeah.
be racist. I'm sorry. There's no excuse for.
She probably
being
found her
problematic.
white knight now, and she's all proud of herself.
mean,
Look at, I may have an upgrade.
Yeah. So we're gonna go to the next video, you guys. Let's go to this one right now.
When I see an Asian guy, when I see his past, and he's dated a lot of like different types of girls.
Apparently for us Asian dudes, diversity in who you're dating is a red flag.
Wait, is she even Asian herself? She looks like mixed at most. Like,
But that's still Asian again. Like if you are Asian, I don't know what she's mixed with, by the way.
yeah.
So I don't want to, say something wrong, right? But she clearly is partially Asian, right? And if you are Asian or Blasian, you're still Asian in our book, because there's still part of you that's Asian.
But
and
most
still Asian.
likely, usually it's the mother who's the Asian one, right? Like 9 times out of 10, and they probably were not teaching the children their culture, because if they were the one who went out with a non-Asian in the first place, they're probably not that close with their own culture, so they probably wouldn't pass that down to their kids. So the kids themselves are not really Asian at all. They probably identify as white. They have a white last name. They get all the white privilege, right? Like Scherzinger, Kruk, Munn, whatever, right? They have white last names, so they get all white privilege. Which Asian people, if your last name is Chan, Yamasaki, whatever, you're not going to get that, right? So that's why they do grow up with the white empowerment.
I don't know their experiences, so I can't say too much about it. But
This is based on my own, personal experience.
Yeah.
People I know, but
yeah, I don't know. I'm sure it's some. I don't want to say all. But regardless, again, if you are Asian and white, Black and Asian, whatever your mix is, you're still Asian if you're part Asian. Okay. The thing that I see really problematic is that she is supporting Asian men not dating outside their culture, which is so harmful. Again, I feel like there's a trend of racism, internalized racism, going on between each video. But also, you're complaining that Asian men are going for mainly Asian women. But at the same time, you're complaining that Asian men are dating outside their race.
Yeah, what do we do? I guess we just have our hand, that's it.
Which, to be honest, I really want to say this. If Asian men only date Asian women, they're only 1% of the population. So you kind of, I'm not gonna lie, you're kind of shooting yourself in the foot if you're only dating Asian women. So actually, support Asian men dating outside their culture, whether it's like Latin, whether it's Black, whatever culture background they are, because you can't just be codependent on Asian women. And vice versa.
I don't discriminate.
Asian women shouldn't be codependent on just Asian men.
Right here.
Yeah. But again, if you are putting down your own culture, you are problematic. Whether you're a woman or a man, if you're putting down your own culture, you are problematic and internally racist. So I just want people to know that. And being racist should not be empowering. I want you women of all cultural backgrounds to call this out. If you find a woman being racist towards her own culture by saying that all the men or all the women look the same, that is internalized racism, and I do not stand for that personally. So that video is basically calling out the internalized racism that a lot of these Asian women have, and I'm sure Asian men as well, with then understanding that if we date outside our culture, that's our red flag, which is not true. Again, you should be able to date whoever you want to date, as long as they're a kind, caring person to you.
Which makes absolutely no sense, because she's mixed herself. So how did she get produced, right? Like, if what she's saying is that you want to keep purity, which is another subject, well, she's not pure Asian herself, so, right? So then so I don't know. Like, okay, of course, there's some people like who promote that they want to stay clean, like the bloodlines, right? Which is a that's another. It's a whole different subject.
I don't like that kind of shit because you know why? Because those people who mostly do that end up dating their own family. So, it's never, it never ends up good with those situations because they'll end up dating their cousin or whatever, which I'm like, I don't want to go into. I'm not about that life. I would never date my own cousin or family member. Some people do, just whatever, but I don't like that at all, to be honest.
Yeah. So I don't know what her intention was, saying that, you know, maybe Asians should stick with Asians, which probably it's not likely that's her intention, but she's saying that, oh, it's okay for Asian women to date white guys, but for Asian men to date white girls, oh, that's a red flag right there. Like,
I also wanted to, because actually they didn't show in the video, but I'm going to try to find the original video somewhere, okay? Because she deleted it, so that's I can only find what do you call it? Where they like review
reactions,
the video.
like,
yeah, I can only find the reaction videos.
Yeah.
I can't find the original video just yet, but the original video obviously it got deleted for a reason. Because she knew. Well,
that means
she
got called out then, so that's good because she had backlash.
I implore that Asian women also call out when other Asian women are being racist. I implore you to do that. I really support you doing that because, again, if we want to stop racism in our own community, both the men and the women have to participate. It can't just be one way. Okay.
Well, I mean, for me personally, I kind of turned a blind eye to it. Like, I used to. Not that I cared so much, but, you know, I used to see it. I flip through Instagram. I see, oh, this girl's cute. And then, lo and behold, you flip down and she's with the white guy, right? Like, I don't have any, like, I'm not anger, you know, anything about it, but I just say, all right, it's typical. And that's what I expect. So now it's like, it's so common. I expect all of them to be with non-Asians. So if I ever see one with an Asian guy,
now because the darkness has fallen.
Yeah, it crept up on us. But if I ever see one who's actually with an Asian guy, it's a shock. Like, whoa, no way! Like this must be like a, you know, a unicorn or something, right? Like, does this even exist? But that's just me. That's my you know, based on my you know, observation over the time that it's so common. I don't even bat an eyelash anymore. Oh yeah, that's much better. Yeah.
I would say this, okay? There is nothing wrong with an Asian woman or an Asian man going for a Caucasian if it's genuine. Okay, and there's a key word, okay? If you have genuine love between whatever cultural background you are, that's a beautiful thing, and I support that. The problem that we have right now is, especially from these videos, is that you can do that without putting Asian men down.
Yeah.
You know? And if you are, which I'm going to be real about, okay, a gay man, I've seen the inner workings of a lot of women and a lot of men. And a lot of these Asian women, a lot of women in general, they'll say they will stay away from their own culture because they put down their own culture, and it's internalized racism, you know? And they're fetishizing the man they're with, right? Whether it's a black man, whether it's a white man, whether it's a Latin man, they are also fetishizing these men. And that's a problem. Mm-hmm. Because if you are with a white man because you think he's better than Asians, because he is someone to show off, because you think and you're taught that white men are better than every other culture, that's a problem.
Well, that's the colonial mentality, right?
Yeah, it's very colonial. And I'm calling this out. You people, whether it's men or women, that are only dating, you people, whether it's men or women, if you only date a person based on a fetish, as well as if you only date a person based on that colonial mindset, that you feel that they're better than other cultures, you are being racist, and you should be called out for that. So, unfortunately, a lot of these people, you know, they're kind of like, oh, well, it's okay. They're just a woman. It's not going to do any harm. This mindset is not just going to be passed down to them. It's going to be passed down to their sisters, their brothers, their aunties, their fellow girlfriends. That's why, to me, it's problematic. Because even as a gay man, I'm not going to date these women, obviously. You know, they're not my preference, not because of the fact that they're Asian, because of the fact that they're women, and I'm just not into women. I'm gay. You know? But at the same time, I see the results of this internalized racism, And I still love and care for my hetero counterparts, both men and women. So I want you guys to have a non-racist dating situation. Can we do that?
Your viewpoint is non-biased because it doesn't affect you personally. It's just from an outsider's point of view almost. And even you notice that it's so prevalent.
Yeah.
That it must be very common.
Well, I'm not gonna lie. Even in the gay world, there is overt racism. For example, it's really not uncommon. In fact, it's not just uncommon; it's very common to see people put on profiles, no Asians and no blacks.
Wow.
Yeah. And they still call it a preference, but it's also internalized racism. So we have to realize that regardless if you say it's a preference or not, it's not a preference, it's a prejudice.
Yeah.
And
well, they just use that as their excuse,
Yeah. It's excuse for racism.
Yeah.
So these girls are being racist. I'm sorry. So let's go to the next one. This is a very common thread one. This is the one we did this before.
Yeah.
And then I can't wait to comment on this afterward because I think also it has to do a lot with being Southeast Asian for me. Well, let's watch the video. Okay.
Our favorite girl.
What kind of Asian are
Not
you?
mine.
I looked at him dead in the eye and I said, fuck you.
What?
It doesn't matter if you're curious what race someone is. You don't ask them. That is not your place. It's not important to you, and it shouldn't. If you treat.
Hey man,
Okay.
what's your ethnicity?
I'm actually proud to say this, and I'm glad you actually asked that question because here's the thing. If you are Southeast Asian, we want to talk about our Southeast Asian side because so many people automatically just assume that you're only Chinese, that you're Japanese, that you're Korean, and it's so important that we understand there's a range of Asians, right? There's so many. There's Laos, Cambodian, Hmong, Thai, Chinese, Vietnamese, Korean, so many cultures that are Asian, right? And Indian as well. So here's the thing. If you, especially for me, I'm not gonna lie, if you're Southeast Asian, I love when people ask because it's finally an opportunity to educate and announce that Southeast Asians exist. We're not, I guess like Ali Wong, the jungle Asians, There's a whole entire culture behind this, and I'm 1/4 Chinese, and I love being partially East Asian, little Szechuan pepper sprinkle, right? But at the same time, I'm really supportive over my Southeast Asian side. And when I hear her saying, what's your Asian background? That's so degrading to me because I'd rather have someone ask me what my Asian background is as opposed to assuming something that I'm not, And I think, to be honest, I just feel like that's so important for other Asians to support. We have to support people asking us our culture as opposed to just assuming they're only one thing, which leads to a lot of stereotypes, which leads to a lot of harmful issues. So again, a lot of this, has to deal with internalized racism, and also it has to deal with a lot of toxicity. So I completely think that not only is it okay to ask, you should ask people what their cultural background is, and also support that. I'm sure there's people who ask in a very negative way, but again, if you are someone outside of the, Asian people normally guess, and they're actually asking what you are, I think that's a beautiful thing in my book. What are your points?
Yeah, I think, with recently all these Asian attacks, I think a lot of them, like you said, they kind of lump all Asians together.
Exactly.
So, not that I think they're really targeting Chinese people because they think the virus and all that was caused by Chinese. But of course, it's not even okay to attack Chinese people. But they assume that any Asian person they see on the street is Chinese, so they're going to attack them, right? Like the elder Thai man that got pushed over and ultimately
even Filipino. There have been numerous. Look on the news, you guys. There have been numerous Filipino attacks, right?
Yeah, especially in New York on the subway.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so I think they were probably going after them because they thought they were Chinese, which wouldn't be right either. But they just, people are ignorant and they attack anyone who remotely looks Chinese or Asian, and they think they lump them all together.
Yeah.
So But then I guess if the victim would say, "Oh no, I'm not Chinese. I'm a Filipino," do you think they would care? They'd probably still attack them, right? So I
They
don't know.
wouldn't. They're attacking you because you're API. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah,
they
yeah.
want to find a reason
Yeah.
to be racist and to hurt you
Mm-hmm.
because they themselves feel hurt because of their own ignorance
Yeah.
and their own stupidity. You know, so I fully want people to be aware that supporting diversity in the API community is so important, and to make people feel ashamed to ask is racist and disgusting. So this is why I particularly don't like it. And I know there's been a lot of videos supporting this creator saying, oh yeah, well, they just think of us as like dogs. I'm like, no, if you say that we're only one Asian culture, you're putting out that we're only one thing.
people
You're
are supporting
generalizing
this
us.
girl?
Yes, that's the
Wow,
problem.
okay.
Not mad at you, mad at those people.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, they're supporting her by saying, oh, they shouldn't ask what Asian background you are. No, first things first, okay? If any of you are college or university students, I know most of you just have, one group of friends, but I encourage you to go to like International Student Alliance, because guess what? Most international students will ask you, what's your cultural background? And they encourage you to do that because we want to support diversity in our community and our colleges and our universities.
Yeah, like in high school, you have the Thai club, the Chinese club, Filipino club. Like, you're proud to be in that group because
Yeah.
it's not the Asian American club. There probably is an Asian American club for the general stuff,
Yeah.
but there's more specifics where you get to mingle with, people from your own culture and you have more in common, right? Like that.
Yeah.
That's the whole idea. So
Exactly.
what's wrong with that?
What's wrong with it is that people, again, there is a shame, and there's also a set of the model minority that they have to be disgraced to call themselves Asian and to be asked about being Asian. If you are proud of your culture, and again, if you hate when people ask you what's your cultural background, you are not proud of your culture. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You are ashamed of your culture, and you're putting shame towards your community. Disgusting. Shame on you.
So is that girl saying that she's not Asian, or I mean, obviously she is. I can't tell exactly which type of Asian, but
That's why you should ask her what her cultural background is.
Yeah, but she won't tell you.
Drop the mic. Stop it. Come on.
Yeah, and then she'll flip
Would
out
she
and
rather have
cry.
people assume?
How dare you ask me? What kind of monster are you?
I would go there and be like, you know what? I'm actually Thai American, and I'm so thankful that you asked, because no one ever tries to get to know Asians beyond just a stereotype of what you think Asian is. Okay? So again, if you want to stop the stereotypes, if you want to support the diversity within the API community, we have to support people asking our cultural background as opposed to just assuming.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. It's a great thing to ask. Shame on her. All right, let's go to the next one.
Yeah, she really got us worked up.
Yeah, we got him. Well, it's just like it's leading because there's so many videos.
Yeah.
Again, so many. Then this generation, we have to realize, API hate crimes have grown so tremendously, especially during COVID, because it's still COVID, guys.
Yeah.
And the thing is that there's already people that are attacking us and hating us just for being API. There's already people. So for us, especially as younger people and influencers on these social media platforms, the last thing you should do to stop Asian hate is by, again, shaming people for supporting you being API. You should not, and this internalized racism, you are just adding to the hate crimes. You're making it, people shouldn't be ashamed of being API. It's a beautiful thing. He's Chinese, I'm Thai. Some of you are Hmong, some of you are Cambodian, some of you are Laos, some of you are Vietnamese, some of you are Japanese and Korean and vice versa. So many things, right? That's beautiful. Some of you are immigrants. That's amazing. Stop creating shame for our community and our culture. If you want to stop Asian hate crimes, one of the first things you can do is stop hating on yourself and your community. All right, go to the next one right now. Sorry, I got so passionate. All right.
Well, maybe that's why she's saying that, because she doesn't want to admit that she's Asian. So, maybe people will less likely attack her.
Well, the way you're going about things, yeah. All right, let's go to the next one.
Creators on this app, specifically Asian men, point out this phenomenon and even throw out stats about interracial marriage between this type of couple without any context. or they just kind of point out how pervasive it is. And every single time, the vibes are kind of off. I'm tired of only seeing the Asian male take on this, so here's mine as an Asian woman. First off, I'm just gonna say, Asian men are not entitled to relationships with Asian women. Point blank, period. These videos reek of misogyny. It's giving, these are our women that these white men are.
All right, so
Well, don't worry. Me as an Asian man would never date her, so she doesn't have to worry about that.
here's the thing, okay? If you feel like you're the only female voice, okay? If you feel like you're the only female voice saying that it's okay for Asian women to exclusively only date white men, you are supporting internalized racism, okay? And yes, this is an issue because the thing is that, as I said before, there's nothing wrong with genuinely loving someone of a different cultural background, if it's genuine. But if you watch the full video, later on she talks about what are you Asian men going to do to stop the European standard or the Western standard of beauty? And I'm like, how about you also, as a woman, tell Asian women and men that we have to stop idolizing that beauty because it's problematic and it's racist. And you should know better because you're saying it's misogynistic for Asian men to call out Asian women who exclusively only date white men. That, I understand that. But at the same time, you also have to call out the Asian women that are saying that I only want to date white men for the European or Western standard of beauty, because that is racist and it's problematic, and you should allow Asian women and men to do better. But just saying that's only a problem of men and not a problem of women, that's making things worse, and you are allowing women to be racist, which is extremely problematic. So you are not empowering them. You are supporting racism, and that needs to stop. So when you're saying it's misogynist because it's that, the thing is that there's a stat for a reason. The stat is there because there are some people who are genuine, which is beautiful, about loving their white partners. Beautiful. But there are some women who are doing it because they want to focus on the European standard of beauty and feel that white men are superior than other cultures, which is racist, which you should not perpetuate or support. Okay? I don't support men who only go for white women because they think they're superior than every other person. And I don't go for women that only go for white men because they think they're superior than every other race. So you have to realize, by you supporting racism, you are also giving an option for women to say, hey, you can be racist and there's nothing wrong with that. But if a man does it, it's horrible, okay? When you guys both do it and generalize each other, you are being harmful. That's all I have to say about that.
Yeah, so the thing is, she's saying that other Asian men shouldn't be all up in her business and care so much. But on the flip side, she cares so much that she would go on a rant on a video about it, right? So then apparently she cares about this and what people think of her. If she really didn't care what people thought and just went about her business, then it shouldn't matter, right? Like in the whole scheme of things, it doesn't matter, right? Whoever you date, it shouldn't matter if the girl down the street, I don't even know, she's with the another ethnicity guy, like no sweat off my back, right? But people seem to make a big deal out of it because what if that girl looks at me like, gives me a dirty look or smirks or whatever, like, hey, why am I involved with this? Like, so they kind of feel, like you say, they do kind of feel superior, like, oh, look at me, I'm with this cool guy, and you're not, something like that. Like, see, it doesn't offend me personally, but I know how they can try to like rankle people's feathers by doing that, and it's almost like a trophy in a way. Just like if you say like a rich older guy with a young hot trophy wife, he struts around on the street. So it's the same type of feeling like that, right? Where they think they're hot stuff because they have this other ethnicity guy who they deem to be superior. So that is where it becomes problematic. But if it's just like everyone minds their own business, everyone walks down the street, dates whoever you like, and everything is hunky-dory, nobody will care, right? It's just that when they kind of force it upon you, they want you to care. Like, look at me, then, it becomes... I mean, I wouldn't say it's a huge problem, but it's just kind of annoying, I'd say. Right? Because for me...
I think it's a huge problem. Yeah. I mean, I've seen plenty...
Yeah.
I'm not going to lie. I think it's a huge problem because again, this is not even a quarter of the talks about how it's okay for Asian women to be racist. And I just want to say it's it's not okay for Asian men or women to be racist. Okay. And again, like, you are teaching your children, your nephews, your, your cousins, your uncles, your dads, that it's okay to be like this. No, your children should be empowered. The people close to you should feel empowered. They shouldn't feel like they're generalized by you, especially being the same culture as they are. And for her to say that I speak upon the women, so you're speaking upon the women saying it's okay to be racist. You're being just as bad, if not worse. Okay. And again, if you're racist as a man or a woman, it's problematic. If you're following the European standard of beauty only, that's problematic. And you're saying that it's empowering for these women to do what they're doing. No, it's not. And also, you should tell them, stop doing it. Because I'm going to tell, as a man, I'm going to tell both the men and women, you should not think that your Caucasian counterparts are better than you and your community. Both the men and the women. So you saying that it's only a man's problem, no, it's not. It's a problem with both sexes. And you guys are both being racist if you choose to believe in the situation.
Yeah, and then why does it have to be divided by gender, right? So why does the Asian woman have to call an Asian guy? So just say like the Asian woman's with a Western guy. Can she tell the Asian guy, hey, you should date Western girls too? They're you should branch out, right? Why would she have to gatekeep and tell Asian guys that they can't go out with Western girls, right? So it makes no sense, right? If you want everyone to truly intermingle and have this melting pot of society, then we just all just intermingle and not even think about it at all, right? It's not even a thing. But somehow, people, especially the people who do it the most, they're the ones who look at their opposite gender of their ethnicity and, oh, you can't do it yourself, I can do it, but you can't. Haha, neither, right? So it's that is the ultimate double standard, right?
Yeah.
Like, I guess you would see videos like this where Asian women call out Asian guys saying that we complain about it. I don't see that many guys complaining about it. I mean, we see it on the street, and like I was saying earlier, it's to the point where it's so commonplace that it's I don't even think about it at all because that's expected, right? I don't say, me personally, I don't say anything. I don't know about other guys, but
I mean, there's guys saying this.
Yeah.
I mean, we've already seen videos where guys react to it, right? Like, it affects them, which I'm not gonna lie. If you're affected, you have the right to be affected.
Yeah.
And if you care, you have the right to care. So I think, again, this goes along with our talk about being Asian American. I'm sure it happens in other countries as well, but exclusively, mostly in America, I see it happen the most.
Yeah.
I think it's so prevalent, especially when I was going to school, to see Asian women say that Asian men are ugly, that they're this, that they're that, and to just generalize and think it's okay. And again, like, I don't support generalizations when men put down women, but I especially don't support women who put down men, okay? And when I see this, I understand that a majority of this is coming from Asian Americans as opposed to Asians from Asia,
Well, I guess to be fair, there aren't as many Westerners in Asia, so there's less chance for intermingling. It's mostly homogenous countries, right?
Yeah,
So,
but just to even say something like, oh yeah, white people were superior, especially white men are superior to Asian men. That's disgusting, and if I heard in Asia, I would call out that person. I'd be like, hey, like, regardless of where we're at, you should not say that white people are superior than your fellow Asian people. I wouldn't deal with that in Asia, and I wouldn't deal with that in America. So, but I'm not going to lie, like, it doesn't matter. If you're doing it, it's horrible either way. Like, I don't care where it's coming from. But particularly, I think, as I said before, like, in America, it's the most prevalent for Asian people, especially Asian women, to put down other Asian people, especially men. And I do not like that. I think it's okay to call it patriarchy or toxic masculinity, but I also think if they're not doing it, just being a regular Asian guy, you should not put them down.
Yeah. Well, I think it's been shown, I mentioned this way in one of our early episodes, using dating apps as a sample size. So out of all the ethnicities, like you would say, just all the ethnicities of women, right? Yeah. Caucasian, Latina, African American, and Asian women. All the other ethnicities besides Asian, they all have a high prevalence of choosing members of their own ethnicity, right? So they don't, like, African American women don't, in a large numbers, turn down African American men, right? Yeah. The only one who does that is Asian women on a high level turn down Asian American men, and they're the only group that does that. So, to your point, they are the most, self-loathing in a way, that they're the only ones that do that. Like, why?
She was just telling us how much she hates stats. She's like, how dare these men show these stats?
Hey,
Ridiculous.
we're Asian, it's numbers, right?
Yeah, it doesn't, again, like, you're promoting racism amongst Asian women, which is so harmful. And if it happened with Asian men too, I would say that's harmful. Do not put down Asian women. So I just want people to know that I'm coming from a situation of, like, I'm not against one or the other, but I am against racism in total. And this is what these creators are perpetuating. That's why it's so hard to be Asian American, because you start seeing things like this, and you start realizing that they're shaming you for being your culture. And that's disgraceful to me. And that's so immature and disempowering, not empowering, disempowering. So, I think that there's a lot of beautiful things about being American, and Asian. But I do want to say there's certain challenges, and we have clearly seen a lot of these challenges. And I'm sure that there's videos of Asian men putting down Asian women. I am not going to lie about that one. But her to say, especially this last creator, her to say that it's all the Asian men calling out the Asian women are horrible, that's not true. Because obviously there's stats on this. You're saying that white men are superior. You're putting down Asian men. I don't agree with that. If you're dating them for love, again, lastly, if you're dating a white man for love because it's genuine, beautiful. Go for it. But if you're dating him because you think that white men are superior than every other culture, then that's problematic.
Yeah, definitely. But I guess she would still have to explain herself, right? So even if she was head over heels colorblind over this particular gentleman, from the outside, people will still look at that and say, oh, you chose him just because he's, So I guess maybe, like, again, I'm not defending her, but, devil's advocate here. Maybe she's just tired of defending herself, right? So, obviously I'm not defending her, right? But I just want to see why people come up with certain viewpoints, right? So maybe she is kind of sick of defending herself. Like, hey, you know what? I love who I love. And, I don't need to explain to anybody, But I guess she has to kind of explain, in a video. But see, in a way, though,
she explained hella much right now.
Yeah. See, you don't have to put others down, though. So if you want to explain your own viewpoint, you don't need to trash somebody else.
Yeah.
People who are, not even part of the equation, right? So, like, if you say, "Oh, I love this guy," we just met doing such and such, and it doesn't matter what his ethnicity was. He could have been from any country. I would have felt the same because we just hit it off and this and that. Okay, fine. That explains a little bit more. But to bring other people in and trash them, say, "Oh, you don't have an opinion about this. Like, what you say doesn't matter." And this, that. Look at you guys, you hypocrites. Like, that's a little bit much, right? Yeah. If your point is solid, then you just explain your side of the story, and that's it. You don't need to bring anyone else into it. But
no, devil's advocate or not, she's allowing other Asian women to be racist. I'm sorry, like I don't like it.
Is she a big influencer that a lot of people would follow her? What she's?
I mean, a lot of these people have like 30K followers and stuff like that. So I mean, we support as API people. Again, I think the other thing we have to realize is that we support people who are making us feel ashamed of our culture and who generalize our culture. And that's something that's on social media. Like, we have to stop doing. We have to stop supporting these people because this is not good. You're going to have children. You're going to have nephews. You're going to have nieces, right? And to have this be the voice of API people, that's really harmful. Like, if I have kids, I don't have kids, but I do have nephews and nieces. And I don't want my kids to see this and say, oh, this is how it is. We're supposed to be ashamed of our culture. We're supposed to generalize our culture. We're supposed to assume that all these people are horrible if they're part of our culture. No, that's so toxic, So again, like I'm sure, like, that there are toxic Asian men. I am 100% sure of that.
Oh, yeah.
But I'm also sure that these women are being really toxic and racist as well. So I think you should call out people who are being that way regardless of their sex.
Well, if there are toxic Asian men, they certainly aren't as forward about it, because we don't see videos on TikTok of Asian men ranting this way. At least not that many compared to the women, right? And then also another thing, like, do you think this is something new? Like, maybe these viewpoints have existed since the beginning of time, but now that there's more of a platform for people to express
We're
it,
just
right?
swimming amoebas, and then we just like, we're just racist swimming amoebas.
Well, I don't mean like that far. I'm just saying, like, these have existed for, you know, a long time, and it's just that nowadays people have more of a platform to express these opinions, right? Whereas in the old days, you know, except for personal interactions, we wouldn't know if somebody had these types of feelings. Like in high school, right? And unless someone told you that in your face, you would know this type of thing, right? Now you can broadcast it to the world, and everyone can see it.
Yeah.
So I think maybe these, you know, types of opinions existed for a long time.
Well, I think internalized racism has always been a part of our culture, but that doesn't mean that it has to be everything and anything, you know. And I think that, again, like, if we see toxicity, we have to call it out. And I mean, like, I'm not gonna lie, like, I've seen plenty of toxic men on like these apps and social media, so I know they're there. It just happens that it's been normalized to put down Asian men, and I'm sure that, you know, Asian men have put down Asian women too as well. But either or, it's bad.
Yeah.
You know, it's not good, regardless if it happened 100 years ago or now in 2023. We shouldn't have it. You know, we should not be doing this thing. And the last part I'll say with this whole conversation is that we're both Asian American, you know. These are our experiences. Let us know about your experiences. And again, doesn't matter what Asian you are, you know, as an API person. You know, if you are Wasian, if you're part Asian, if you're Blasian, you're Black and Asian, you know, Latin Asian, whatever background you are, and just full Asian or mixed Asian, you are all API people, and you are beautiful people, and we support you, and we love you, and we hope that you guys become followers as well as comment below. Let us know your thoughts, your ideals, and also, you know, should we call it racism? I think we should. So hopefully you do too as well, and we'll be here for the next chat, but definitely make sure to subscribe and support us, because we want to have your support so much.
All right, catch you next time.
All right, bye everyone.